Understanding network reconnaissance. Network reconnaissance is gathering detailed information about a target network to identify potential vulnerabilities in attack surfaces. Map open ports and services. Identify OS and device types. Detect firewall and IDS presence. Prioritize targets for further testing. Here's a simple and clear explanation. Network reconnaissance, what it is and why it matters. Imagine you are trying to find your way through an unfamiliar city. You wouldn't just walk in without knowing where you are, would you? Network reconnaissance is similar. It's like taking a map of the network before trying to navigate it. When hackers, or even security experts, recon a network, they gather information about its layout, what services and ports are open, what devices are connected, and if there are any firewalls or intrusion detection systems in place. This helps them identify potential vulnerabilities and decide where to focus their efforts next. Think of it like scouting out a building before trying to break in. You'd want to know the layout, where the guards are, and if there are any alarms. Network reconnaissance is just like that, but for online networks instead of physical buildings. Basics of port scanning. Port scanning identifies open, closed, and filtered ports on a host, revealing services and potential vulnerabilities. Rapid packet probes reveal service state. Timing adjustments balance speed and stealth. SYNAC and UDP scans differ in behavior. IDS signatures flag common scanning patterns. Here's a simple and clear explanation. Port scanning, what it does. Imagine you are trying to figure out what services are running on your internet router, like Wi-Fi, email, or online games. Port scanning is like sending hello messages to each service one by one to see which ones respond. This helps identify which services are open and working. Example, think of it like knocking on different doors in a house to see if anyone answers. If someone does, you know there's life inside, or in this case, an open service. But if nobody responds or just tells you to go away, you can infer certain things about the situation. Open ports mean services are active and listening for incoming connections. Closed ports mean services aren't running on that particular port, so no one answers your hello. Filtered ports might not directly respond but could indicate firewalls or other protective measures are in place. This process helps network administrators and cybersecurity professionals assess the security posture of a host by revealing which services are exposed. It's a fundamental tool for understanding how to protect systems from potential vulnerabilities. Reconnaissance goals and objectives. Network reconnaissance systematically gathers data about target networks, mapping devices, services, and potential vulnerabilities. Identify IP ranges and host availability. Enumerate open ports and running services. Detect system operating systems and software versions. Assess potential entry points and vulnerabilities. Here's a simple explanation. Reconnaissance goals and objectives. Think of reconnaissance like being a detective trying to gather clues about a target network, like a company's computer system. The goal is to get information that can help identify potential entry points or weaknesses. Imagine you are trying to break into a house. You wouldn't just start knocking on the door, right? First, you'd try to figure out where the cameras are, if there are guards patrolling the area, and what kind of locks are on the doors. That's similar to what reconnaissance does for a network. It looks for clues like which IP addresses, like house numbers, exist within the target network. What services or programs are running, like which doors are locked or unlocked. What kind of operating system, like Windows or Linux, and software versions are being used, which can tell you about potential vulnerabilities. The ultimate goal is to identify potential entry points, or weaknesses, in the target network, so that someone who might be trying to break into it, like a hacker, could find easier ways to get in. But for cybersecurity experts, this information helps them strengthen the security of the network by fixing those weak spots before they're exploited. Information gathering techniques. Information gathering collects target network data to identify assets. Passive techniques: sniffing traffic, analyzing DNS queries. Active probing, port scanning, banner grabbing. OS fingerprinting, map P0F for OS detection. Service enumeration, HTTP headers, SSH key exchanges. Here's a simple explanation with real-world example. Information gathering techniques. This technique is like being a curious detective, trying to learn more about your target network. Imagine you're investigating a crime scene, a company's network. You want to find clues to understand what they have, so you can plan how to break in safely and successfully. There are two ways to gather information: passive and active techniques. Passive techniques. These are like sneaking around without being seen. You quietly observe what's happening on the network. Sniffing traffic. Imagine tapping into a phone call to listen in on conversations. Analyzing DNS queries. It's like looking at the address book of the company's internet interactions. Active techniques. These are like knocking on doors and asking questions. You actively probe the network to gather information. Probing ports. Think of it like trying different keys in a lock to see which one fits. Banner grabbing. It's like reading the name tag on a security guard's uniform. OS fingerprinting. Imagine identifying the type of car someone drives by looking at its features. Service enumeration. This is like asking a receptionist about the services they offer. These techniques help you understand what's on the network, so you can plan your next steps. They're like gathering clues to solve a mystery. Passive versus active reconnaissance. Passive reconnaissance gathers information without contacting the target, while active reconnaissance probes the target directly. Passive intercepts public data, e.g. DNS HOI. Active sends probes, e.g. ping send scan. Passive leaves no footprints, active creates logs. Passive slower lower detection, active faster higher risk. Here's a simple explanation with a real-world example. Passive vs active reconnaissance. Imagine you are trying to learn more about a person, let's say, a friend from high school. Passive recon. You look up your friend's public profile on social media or search for news articles featuring them. This way, you can gather information without directly contacting them. Active recon. You send your friend a direct message or call them to ask questions and engage in conversation. This approach is more interactive and proactive. In the context of cybersecurity, passive reconnaissance involves gathering public information about a system or network, like looking up DNS records or HOI data. On the other hand, active reconnaissance sends probes or requests directly to the target system, such as pinging it or scanning its ports. Scanning methods overview. Scanning methods systematically probe network hosts to discover open ports and services, aiding threat assessment. TCP Connect establishes full TCP handshake reliable data exchange. SYN Stealth sends half-open SYN checks responses low footprint. UDP Scan broadcasts UDP packets, infers open services via error. ACScan identifies firewall rules by ACK responses. Here's a simple explanation for each scanning method. 1. TCP Connect. Imagine you are trying to reach your friend who lives in a house with a locked door. You knock on the door, wait for an answer, handshake, and then enter the house, establish connection, if they open it. TCP Connect is like knocking on every door in a neighborhood to see which ones are opened, i.e., hosts responding to connections. 2. SYN Stealth. Picture a librarian quietly asking a few questions about books without revealing who asked them, low footprint. They just send a half-open question, half of the handshake, and wait for an answer, trying not to disturb others in the library. 3. UDP Scan. Imagine sending a loud shout, broadcast, into a hallway where rooms are open or closed. If someone yells back at you, response, it means they're awake and paying attention, i.e., UDP service is active. 4. ACScan. Think of it like asking people in the hallway if there's a specific door locked or unlocked. If someone responds with yes, that door is closed, acknowledged packet, you know the firewall rules are active at that point. These explanations aim to simplify complex concepts by using relatable scenarios. TCP Connect Scan explained. A TCP Connect scan initiates a full TCP handshake to discover which ports are open on a target host. Sends SYN, waits for SYN, ACK, then ACK. Closed ports reply with RST. Open ports confirm via successful handshake. Traffic is obvious, easy for IDS detection. Here's a simple explanation of a TCP Connect scan. What is a TCP Connect scan? A TCP Connect scan is a way to see which ports on a computer are open by actually connecting to them. How does it work? Imagine you are sending a letter, SYN, to someone and they say, "Oh, I got your letter, SYN ACK." If the port is open, they'll then send back an answer, ACK, saying, "Yeah, I'm here." But if the port is closed, they'll just shut the door on you, RST, without even responding. Why is it easy to detect? The problem with a TCP Connect scan is that it's like sending a loud knock on the door. An intrusion detection system, IDS, can easily hear the noise and say, "Oh no, someone's trying to connect to port 80. So this method isn't very sneaky. UDP Scan fundamentals. UDP Scan probes ports without handshake, indicating open services. Stateless probes make detection of open ports harder. Timeouts increase scan duration and traffic noise. ICMP unreachable replies confirm closed or filtered ports. Tools like Nmap use payload patterns for service detection. Here's a simple and clear explanation. Understanding UDP scan fundamentals. When scanning a network, a UDP, user datagram protocol, scan sends test packets to various ports on devices without establishing a connection, like a handshake. This is different from regular connections. Open services, if a port responds, it means the service associated with that port is open. Difficulty in detection, since these probes are stateless, not connected, it's harder to determine if a port is actually open or just filtered, blocked. Timeouts, the longer you wait for responses, the more traffic noise and scan duration increase. This can be frustrating. Closed or filtered ports, if you don't get any response after sending test packets, it could mean the port is either closed or filtered. To make service detection easier, tools like Nmap use patterns within payloads, the data sent with each packet, to identify specific services running on open ports. To avoid issues, be careful when using special characters in these patterns. Stick to simple and straightforward characters. SYN-SCAN for stealth. A SYN-SCAN initiates half-open TCP connections to detect open ports. It sends SYN packets but never completes the handshake, reducing detection risk. Sends SYN no ACK half-open connection. SYN-ACK response indicates port open. RST means closed, no reply hidden. Minimal CPIP footprint evades basic IDS. Here's a simple explanation. What is a SYN-SCAN? A SYN-SCAN is a way to detect if a port on a computer is open or not by sending a special type of message called a SYN packet. Think of it like knocking on the door of a website, port, to see if anyone answers. How does it work? 1. The attacker sends a SYN packet, like a knock on the door. 2. If the port is open, the server responds with a SYN-ACK message, like someone answering the door. 3. If the port is closed, there's no response at all, like nobody answers the door. Why is it sneaky? This method is stealthy because it doesn't complete the whole connection process. It just sends a quick hello message and then stops. This makes it harder for security systems to detect. Example. Imagine you are trying to get into an empty house, website. If you knock on the door, SYN packet, and nobody answers, RST response, that means the port is closed. But if someone answers with a brief hello message, SYN-ACK response, it means the port is open. Fragmentation and evading detection. Fragmentation splits a packet into smaller pieces to evade its zips detection. Split packets to hide malicious payloads. Reassembly by target network masks traffic patterns. IDS often inspect only initial fragments. Use overlapping fragments to confuse detection. Here's a simple explanation with a real-world example. Fragmentation and evading detection. Imagine you are trying to send a confidential document, like a credit card number, through email. To avoid getting caught by email security systems, IDS/IPS, you break the document into tiny pieces, like puzzle fragments, and send them one at a time. Each fragment is small enough to fly under the radar of the email scanner. When they reach their destination, they're reassembled like a completed puzzle, and the secret info is now visible. In this example, fragmentation helps hide the malicious payload, the credit card number. Since each piece looks harmless on its own, it's harder for security systems to detect the issue. It's like trying to spot one tiny puzzle fragment in a bunch of unrelated pieces. Challenging. Scan timing and performance. Scan timing controls when and how quickly port scans run, balancing speed with stealth. Choose scan type SYN-ACK null. Set delay between packets. Monitor target response time. Adjust rate based on firewall detection. Here's a simple explanation. Scan timing and performance. Imagine you are trying to find a specific book in a huge library. You can either search quickly, but it might take longer to get accurate results, or you can search slowly, but it might be more thorough. Similarly, when running port scans, you need to balance how fast they run with how stealthy they are. Here are some options to control scan timing and performance. Scan type. Choose the type of scan, SYN, the fastest, ACK, a bit slower, or null, even slower. Delay between packets. Add a pause between each packet sent, making the scan less noticeable. Monitor target response time. Keep an eye on how quickly the target responds to each packet, helping you adjust the scan speed. Adjust rate based on firewall detection. If the target has a firewall that detects and blocks your scans, you can slow down the rate to avoid triggering it. By balancing these factors, you can make your port scans as fast or stealthy as needed. Using MAP for port discovery. MAP scans hosts to identify open ports and running services. It uses packet crafting to probe network devices efficiently. Use SS for stealth SYN port scanning. Scan all ports with P for exhaustive discovery. Add O flag for operating system fingerprinting. Export findings with OA to HTML XML greppable. Here's a simple explanation. Using MAP for port discovery. Imagine you're trying to figure out what devices are connected to your home network, but you don't know what they are or what services they offer. MAP is like a super efficient way to scan those devices and find out which ports, like doors, are open, and what services are running on them. It's like sending a probe packet, a small message, to each device to see how it responds. Here are some tips. Use the SS option for stealth scanning, so you don't wake up devices that might be sleeping. If you want to scan all ports at once, use P. Add the O flag to figure out what operating system each device is running. To save your findings in a nice format, use the OA option to export them as HTML XML. This way, you can easily understand what devices are connected and what services they offer. Advanced MAP scripting. Leverage NSE to automate in-depth discovery, exploitation and reporting. Use NSE to extend MAP's probing capabilities. Automate OS detection, version scanning and vulnerability checks. Integrate external script databases and custom scripts. Run quick defaults with SC and script options. Here's a simple explanation and real-world example for each point. 1. Leverage NSE to automate in-depth discovery, exploitation and reporting. Imagine you're a security auditor trying to discover all devices connected to a network, including their versions, vulnerabilities, and potential exploits. MAP scripting can help automate this process, saving time and effort. Example: a company wants to audit its network before a major conference. An NSE script is run on the network to automatically scan for open ports, detect operating systems, and identify potential vulnerabilities. The results are then used to prioritize and remediate issues before attendees arrive. 2. Use NSE to extend MAP's probing capabilities. Think of MAP scripting as adding extra tools to a Swiss Army knife. You can use NSE scripts to perform tasks that aren't native to MAP, making it even more powerful for network discovery and exploration. Example: an IT team wants to check if a certain software is installed on all network devices. A custom NSE script is created to specifically probe for this software, extending MAP's capabilities and providing more detailed information than standard scans. 3. Automate OS detection, version scanning and vulnerability checks. Imagine having a script that can automatically identify the operating system of each device on your network, as well as check for known vulnerabilities in those systems. This could save a lot of manual work and help focus on high-risk areas first. Example: a cybersecurity team uses an NSE script to scan the entire company network for potential vulnerabilities in outdated Windows versions. The script automatically detects OS versions, flags vulnerable ones, and prioritizes them for patching or remediation. 4. Integrate external script databases and custom scripts. Picture a library where you can access scripts from other users, as well as add your own custom scripts to solve specific problems or extend MAP's capabilities even further. Example: a community of security researchers shares an open database of custom NSE scripts on a public platform. These scripts can be easily accessed by others and integrated into their MAP scans for more comprehensive results. 5. Run quick defaults with SC and script options. You can quickly run default scripts along with your standard MAP scan to get some basic information about potential vulnerabilities or configuration issues without needing to write custom scripts. Example: an IT support team uses the dash script option in their regular MAP scans to also run some quick vulnerability checks and OS detection, which helps them catch potential issues before they become major problems. Network topology and scanning. Network topology defines how devices and links are arranged. Scanning reveals exposed interfaces and services. Identify physical and logical device connections. Map IP address ranges to network segments. Detect open ports on each host. Visualize topology with color-coded device status. Here's a simple explanation. Network topology and scanning. Imagine you're planning a big party at your house. You need to know who's coming, how they'll get there, roads, bus routes, where they'll park, parking spots, and which rooms they can enter. Network topology is like mapping out the connections between people, devices, and the paths they take, links. It shows you who's connected to whom, How devices are physically or logically linked together. Scanning is like a sneak peek at your party. It reveals exposed interfaces, like open doors. Services that are available, like food, drinks, or games. Think of scanning like detecting which rooms are unlocked and which ones have lights on, active services. It helps you identify potential security risks or optimization opportunities. Visualizing topology with color-coded device status is like seeing a map of your party layout. You can see who's arrived, who's waiting, or which areas need more attention. Firewall interaction and bypass. A firewall filters inbound and outbound traffic between networks, often blocking unauthorized access. Attackers probe, identify weaknesses, and use stealth or protocol exploits to bypass these controls. Identify firewall rules via port scans. Use stealthy low-volume traffic. Exploit protocol quirks or misconfigurations. Deploy tunnel or proxy techniques. Here's a simple explanation and real-world example for each point on the slide. Content. Firewall interaction and bypass. Imagine you are trying to get into a secure building, but there are security guards, firewalls, controlling who can enter or leave. 1. Identify firewall rules via port scans. Think of a port scan like someone trying every door on the building to see which ones are locked. Attackers use this technique to discover open ports on a network, which can reveal potential entry points for exploitation. 2. Use stealthy low-volume traffic. Imagine someone is trying to sneak into the building by using a very quiet and subtle approach. Attackers might use small amounts of traffic or modify their packets in such a way that it's hard for firewalls to detect, making it look like they're not even there. 3. Exploit protocol quirks or misconfigurations. Picture a situation where the building's security system has a glitch, protocol quirks, or was set up incorrectly by someone who doesn't know what they're doing, misconfigurations. Attackers can exploit these flaws in network protocols to bypass firewalls, much like how you could sneak into the building through a broken door. 4. Deploy tunnel or proxy techniques. Imagine using a secret underground tunnel, or a proxy server, that looks like it connects directly from outside the building to inside, but actually goes around the main security checkpoints. Attackers can use similar techniques, tunnels or proxies, to send traffic through a secure channel, making it look like the traffic originated from within the network instead of coming from the internet. Detection techniques for network defenders. Detection techniques enable defenders to spot reconnaissance and port scanning early, mitigating potential breaches. Signature-based IDS alerts on known scan patterns. Anomaly detection flags unusual traffic bursts. Honeypot traps reveal malicious probes. Flow analytics monitors port activity trends. Here's a simple explanation. Detecting bad guys in real life. Imagine you're at a party, your network. Some people might be just there to socialize, but others could be snooping around, reconnaissance, or scanning the place for vulnerabilities, port scanning. Detection techniques. 1. Signature-based IDS, it's like having a bouncer who knows common scan patterns and can spot them right away. 2. Anomaly detection, if someone shows up unexpectedly and starts causing a scene, the security team will flag that unusual behavior. 3. Honeypot traps, imagine setting up decoy sweet treats, honeypots, to lure in malicious actors, making it easier to catch them in the act. 4. Flow analytics, it's like monitoring the crowd flow, network activity, to identify potential security issues and trends. These detection techniques help defenders stay one step ahead of would-be attackers and protect your network party from unwanted guests. Countermeasure strategies. Countermeasure strategies are proactive and reactive techniques designed to detect, mitigate, and prevent unauthorized network reconnaissance and port scanning attempts. Deploy IDS/IPS to detect scanning patterns. Implement rate limiting and throttling on open ports. Use honeypot decoy systems to lure attackers. Enforce strict firewall rules and segmentation. Here's a simple explanation and real-world example for each point. 1. Deploy IDS/IPS to detect scanning patterns. Imagine you're at a crowded concert, and suddenly someone starts taking pictures of every corner of the venue with a camera. You'd want security to notice that suspicious activity, right? That's similar to what an intrusion detection system, IDS, or an intrusion prevention system, IPS, does for your network. They watch for unusual patterns, like lots of people scanning ports in a short time, and alert you so you can respond. 2. Implement rate limiting and throttling on open ports. Think of it like a bouncer at a nightclub. If someone tries to rush in with too many friends, the bouncer might limit how many more people can enter. On your network, rate limiting and throttling do something similar. they control how many connections or requests an open port can handle in a short time. This helps stop attackers who try to flood your system with lots of scans. 3. Use honeypot decoy systems to lure attackers. Imagine setting up a fake, empty shop in front of your real store. If someone tries to break into the shop, you'll know they were interested in what's really behind it. A honeypot is like that. It's a decoy system or resource that looks interesting and accessible but doesn't have any valuable data or functionality. This can attract attackers, making it easier for your security team to catch them. 4. Enforce strict firewall rules and segmentation. Think of your network as a high-security prison. Each cell, or segment, has its own rules about who and what can enter and leave. Firewalls are like the guards at each gate. They check every request or connection that wants to move from one cell to another. By setting strict rules, you ensure that only authorized traffic passes through, making it harder for attackers to find vulnerabilities within your network. Legal and ethical considerations. Network reconnaissance and port scanning are legal only with explicit authorization. Unauthorized scanning can breach privacy and be illegal. Obtain explicit permission before scanning. Follow applicable data protection laws. Document all scanning activities. Avoid disrupting production services. Here's a simple explanation and real-world example for the legal and ethical considerations of network reconnaissance and port scanning. Why get permission before scanning? Imagine you're a friend visiting your neighbor's house, but without asking first. You'd be trespassing. Similarly, in IT, scanning means checking a network or system for open ports or vulnerabilities. If done without permission, it's like entering someone's private space without consent. Real-world example. Think of a hospital's computer system. It's like the medical staff's confidential patient records and private care facilities. Scanning the hospital's network without permission would be like snooping through their sensitive data without authorization. In such cases, it's essential to get explicit permission before scanning, follow applicable data protection laws, like HIPAA in healthcare, document all scanning activities, and avoid disrupting production services. This way, you respect others' digital privacy and stay on the right side of the law. Future trends in network reconnaissance. Emerging techniques and tools that enable faster, stealthier, and more automated mapping and exploitation of network topologies. AI-driven threat intelligence accelerates target profiling. Homomorphic encryption preserves privacy in passive scans. Quantum-resistant protocols reshape port scanning feasibility. Edge AI devices perform real-time reconnaissance. Here's a simple explanation. Imagine you are trying to navigate a city with many streets, buildings, and landmarks. Network reconnaissance is like mapping that city, but instead of streets and buildings, it's about discovering the paths and features of computer networks. The slide mentions emerging trends that make network mapping and exploration faster, sneakier, less detectable, and more automated. 1. AI-driven threat intelligence. It's like having a super smart guide who knows the city's layout and can quickly identify potential threats or points of interest. 2. Homomorphic encryption. This is like using a special tool that lets you scan the city without anyone noticing what you are looking at, preserving everyone's privacy. 3. Quantum-resistant protocols. Imagine new rules for navigating the city that make it harder for others to detect what you are doing, even with advanced technology. 4. Edge AI devices. These are like smart, real-time guides who can help you navigate the city and identify potential points of interest as you move through it. These emerging trends are changing how network reconnaissance is done, making it faster, sneakier, and more automated.